I've been making YouTube videos professionally for over 10 years. I've been able to work with some of the biggest creators in the world, people pulling in hundreds of millions of views a month, making hundreds of millions of dollars with millions of subscribers. And today I'm gonna share with you what I had to learn the hard way of turning your skill or passion for video into something that can actually make you decent money and why you might be stuck where you are right now. So I talk to a lot of videographers, I talk to a lot of people who make videos for a living and who want to level up in their careers just because I've been there, done that for a long time. And one thing that I see all the time is something that I call hitting the wall. Chances are if you are someone who's doing this, you're probably hitting this right now if you're watching this video. If not, you've definitely been there. So let me rewind just a few years to paint the picture of exactly what this looks like. So just a few years ago, I was in my college dorm room and I remember it was like a Friday night. I was wrapping up my third video edit for that week. These were long edits. They were like 40-minute mini documentary, high touch edits. I was doing like 30-minute to 45-minute videos a week, which was basically impossible if you know anything about editing. I would basically just be editing from the moment that I woke up to the moment that I went to bed. I remember finishing up the third video for that week and it was like 1 a.m. and I clicked export. Normally, if you're a creative, you know what it feels like to finish a project. There's like a pretty big sense of accomplishment that you just finished a video. It usually feels good. But this time I was just like, I've been making videos for this YouTuber for years before that. Ever since I was in high school, I was freelancing. This was the first time where I really hit the wall in the sense that I couldn't keep doing this anymore if I wanted to get to where I wanted to go. I've always been someone from a really young age who always, one, wanted to make money, two, wanted to do something on my own terms for whatever reason. And I was kind of coming to the realization that I was giving everything that I had to be able to make this work, working legitimately 60-hour weeks. And when I sent my invoice after I exported that video for that night, it was less money than I would have been making at pretty much any regular job. And all my buddies were out partying the same night. And I was in a fraternity at ASU. I was missing out on a lot of stuff socially, and I just wasn't making crazy money, and I was working harder than anyone I knew. And I was good at what I did. I had to kind of come to the terms with like, I couldn't keep doing things the same way because it just wasn't gonna get me anywhere. I could keep putting in more time and doing the same thing month over month, and I would just be in the same situation of cool, I was making decent money, especially for someone who's full-time in school, but I wasn't able to really get to where I wanted to go, and I didn't see any upwards mobility in where I was. So I was kind of hitting a wall, and I actually called the person I was working for at the time the next day, and I said, hey, I know we've been working together for multiple years at this point, but I just don't see a world in which I can keep doing this. And that hurt me a lot as someone who obviously gave multiple years of my life to building this YouTube channel. And as someone who basically climbed my way up to be their lead editor, put a lot into being able to get to the position where I was at. I called him up, I said, hey, like I was exhausted. So I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this. I need to do something. I don't know if I'm gonna quit. I don't know what's gonna happen. And basically, we came to the agreement that I was gonna take 2 weeks off for like the first time in years. Also, this was all self-inflicted. Like I wanted to work hard. I kept asking for more projects. They weren't working me to death. This was totally something that I wanted to do for myself. They said, cool, you have 2 weeks, chill out, relax, we got it covered, don't worry, we're not gonna upload, you're chilling. They were like, you probably need to take a rest anyway, like it's been a while and we were pushing really hard. So I took those 2 weeks, I actually flew to New York City on a one-way flight because I was losing my mind. So I just flew out there, I'd never been out there, and I stayed out there for 2 weeks and spent a lot of the money that I had saved up doing that. And I just was sitting in my hotel room thinking to myself, I remember I had like a piece of paper and a pen, I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm good at what I do, I can edit these videos, I'm working with a big YouTuber, getting millions of views. These videos were getting like 3 to 6 million views a video. I liked the people I worked with, but I just wasn't making enough to justify what I was doing. And that's what I call hitting the wall. And I see this time and time again. I was talking to someone yesterday, they're in a similar situation. I actually hit that wall many, many, many times in my career, which I think is kind of part of the game if you're trying to level up in any field or any profession and trying to push things to the next level and kind of break past your comfort zone. So that's hitting the wall. Maybe you've been there before or you have experienced this for yourself, or maybe if you're not there yet, I want to show you this ahead of time so you don't get into that position. But there will come a time if you're good at what you do, or you get good at what you do, where you will be working super hard for probably less than you think that you're worth. This is totally normal and it's actually to be expected and it's part of the process. But I do want to give you some caveats and ways to avoid this and what I would do in your position if I was starting out. Context, I live in Los Angeles now. I run my own video business. We do pretty well. Like I have a nice car and I can do what I want and I have time freedom and I can travel if I want to, which is nice. But it wasn't always that way. So what a lot of people do after they hit that wall is they think, cool, it's a money issue. I'm gonna just raise my prices. I'm gonna negotiate better rates with the people I'm working with. Everything will be good. I'll be making more money. However, I can tell you from experience what's gonna happen is you'll probably make a little bit more money, but a few months down the line, you're gonna run into the same situation. If you're aspiring for big things, if you wanna get rich as a creative, you're gonna run into the same thing, because essentially what's gonna happen is you're gonna have this new baseline of money for whatever terms you agreed to, and you're gonna end up in the exact same position of taking on a bunch of work, being overworked because you can only fulfill so much in one day. So if raising your prices isn't the answer, which it's really not, what you have to do is look at the opportunity vehicle that you're in and assess whether or not that's something that you want to continue in. Because video editing as a skill set, yes, if you're really good, you can make decent money, but you're not going to be able to live the lifestyle that all these people are pushing on social media of being able to travel, work a few hours a day, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, if you're someone who's striving for something big, you don't necessarily want to work 2 hours a day. You want to find something you can sink yourself into and you feel passionate about, and you can reap the rewards of the hard work that you put in. But just for context, for video editors, if you are top 1% in the world and you're working for large creators, which takes a good amount of time and experience to get to that position, we can look right here. One of the biggest YouTubers out there right now is Eric. He has over 15 million subscribers. They're looking for editors. They just did this huge editing challenge to try to find like the best editors in the world, and they're reaching out to tons of people. And the salary for that job in that position is at 100K a year, which sounds good for a video editing position. That's definitely very solid. It's a full-time role. You can't have any other clients. You're gonna be busting your ass and working on weekends and all that kind of stuff, which I'm not shitting on this opportunity at all. That's actually awesome. Like, you'll learn a lot in this position. If that is something that interests you, I would actually look at this. I have no affiliation, but they're good people over there and you're gonna make cool videos. This alone, being a video editor, even at the top of skill, that's about what you're gonna get. Like other big YouTubers or big creators that people like to watch, someone like Alex Hormozy, you have to live on site in Las Vegas, 66K to 80K annually. Obviously, there's tons of perks and mentorship to taking an opportunity like this, not knocking it at all. I'm just setting expectations in terms of like, if you are really, really good at what you do and you can land a job at one of these companies who are like top talent in the world, that's what you're gonna be making. And you have to work in an office full time, 8 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and also sometimes on the weekends. That's not to knock these opportunities. I actually think they're awesome. I've done opportunities very similar to this. And what I was saying earlier about the actual opportunity vehicle that you're in as a video editor, the reason why this is the rate for it is because that's what it's worth. You could think you're the best in the world. You can be one of the best in the world, and that's what you're gonna get paid. And that's not because these companies are greedy. It's actually a very fair wage for this, if not more than market rate. It's just that's the value that that skill set actually has, right? So that wall that you keep hitting is really just the cap of the opportunity vehicle that you're in. You can cry about that, boo-hoo, and woe is me, the whole world can change, or you can change and you can actually become better and more valuable to these people that you'll be working with. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. So what this comes down to is video editing is just a relatively low responsibility role. If you look in the grand scheme of business and you zoom into just video editing, right? It's pretty much at the very bottom of the responsibility stack in terms of how much accountability you're taking on and how much risk you're taking on to actually make money for people. So if you think of what actually goes into making a video, obviously at the very bottom, someone has to edit the videos and they have to be great. And that's not to undermine this skill set at all, but video editing is kind of at the bottom of the barrel. It's like you're the person who's assembling everything, you're telling the story, you're adding the effects, you're doing all these things. It's very time consuming, but you're kind of like one of the last pieces in the process of actually making money and actually delivering the result that people want. And I see a lot of people online, especially like business video gurus, who are like, it's not about your skill set, it's about your positioning. And that's total bullshit. You can't really say certain things to get these people to pay you more, because that is how much value you provide to what they actually are building, if that makes sense. So it's not like you can position yourself differently and say, I'm not a video editor, I'm a video engineer, and you're still just editing and you're gonna make more money. That's just not realistic. That's just the going rate for what that skill set requires. If you look at what actually goes into making a YouTube video, if you're to chunk up, video editing is just a part of post-production. On top of video editing, there's video editing workflows and efficiency, the actual systems behind how can we replicate your result amongst multiple people inside an organization. In addition to that, there's like the vision for post-production execution, which is like the font, the branding, the colors, how videos are gonna look, what does a video look like for this specific client, and maintaining consistency across that. If you zoom out even a little bit more, there's post-production leadership, so managing a team of editors, giving feedback on videos, and that's just post-production. If we're to zoom out even further, there's pre-production, which is the story structure, the video outlines. You go a step above that. There's storytelling, there's scripting, there's the actual plot lines in the video and how they all come together to tell a cohesive story and a narrative and basically make a compelling video, like the meat of the video, not just the editing. Zoom out from that, there's leadership for that role. It's like, okay, how do I lead people to be able to tell better stories? What are the processes that I can have in place? And that's just pre-production. You have to actually shoot the videos. And on top of that, there's managing the talent. So if you're working with high-level people, you're gonna wanna have good people skills, and there's leadership for how you can do that at scale. And it's just this recurring web of responsibility that you can take on within the video creation process, right? I'm not gonna keep extrapolating, but if you actually zoom out and look at all the components of what it takes to actually make videos, video editing is the very, very bottom of the barrel in terms of responsibility and in terms of actually taking an idea to execution. If you have huge goals for yourself and you wanna make a bunch of money, but your opportunity vehicle is down here, you're gonna keep running into this frustration where these don't align, and you're gonna wonder why working harder isn't gonna get you to where you wanna be. And I had to learn this the hard way. I've taken on, in my time, multiple video editing or video creator, videographer roles, and I would always have this frustration with myself of like, why can't I make more money, or why can't I get further ahead doing this thing? And it's just because I wasn't valuable enough. And it's because I didn't understand the scope of experience and the scope of knowledge and the scope of what it actually takes to create a finished product. If we zoom out from there, there's strategy of like, why are we making videos in the first place? What are the goals of the business? Zoom out from there, there's multiple platforms, there's brand, and that's just organic media, there's paid media, you know what I mean? You can keep zooming out, and that's just marketing. And then marketing is just one function of business. So if you really look at the map of what you're doing, you can't expect to make crazy money. And I see all these people online, especially like new videographers, editors, they get a job or two, they're able to travel, and it's cool. But if you really want to do big things and you want to go far, how do you get past this discrepancy where you're really ambitious, but you're stuck in an opportunity vehicle that might not be where you want to be? So there's pretty much two paths you can go down if you want to stay within the content creation space. You can either decide that you love making videos so much that you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of your goals in terms of like monetary and status and freedom to be able to do what you actually love, which is making videos, which is totally cool. There's some people who are totally happy making a few $1,000s a month, living comfortably, and being able to do what they love for a living. That's a total win. Or if you actually want to make more money as a video editor and quote get rich, then you're gonna have to accept that you're gonna have to learn some more skill sets and be able to stack more things on top of your skill for video editing or videography. And what that looks like is going up market and going upstream and being able to layer on multiple of these skill sets so that you can get more responsibility and take on more ownership and take on more risk ultimately for the business or the clients that you're working with, so that you can charge more money as a result. Because generally in life, you're gonna make more money depending on how much risk you're willing to take on as a person. So for instance, if you are building a hotel that costs $100 million to create, you're gonna have to be raising a bunch of money, you're gonna have to be working with developers, and you're probably gonna get a pretty fat payout from that because you're risking so much and you're putting so much on the line. It's the same thing in video. It's like, if you're just editing, you're not taking on much risk. It's like you have footage handed to you, you're chopping it up. If something goes wrong, it's like, it's probably you're not able to meet deadlines. Like that's really the biggest risk that you have, is just like not being able to do it in time. You either have to move up market and look at the other skill sets that you can acquire, or you have to change opportunity vehicles. And what that looks like is people usually think there's two paths, which is either stay an individual contributor, creator, raise your prices until people start saying no, or you think that you have to build like a massive agency, turn yourself into an entire operation where basically you're managing people at scale and you're hiring editors and you're training them and you're signing multiple clients, which honestly is just a bunch of headaches. If you're a creative, it's kind of difficult because you're gonna give up your creativity and your passion for video to become someone who manages people. And if you wanna make money as a video business owner, totally cool. But I've kind of found a hybrid approach that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, not doing either one of those things. It's not staying a broke freelancer, and it's not running a massive video agency with tons of employees and like 50 different clients to make a bunch of money. So I took the other path and I started moving up the ladder and taking on more responsibility within organizations and for clients. So I realized that I didn't want to just be someone who edited videos. I cared more about actually making money, and I like business, to be fair. So I moved from being just a video editor to a video editor and videographer. From there, got into more of the strategy side, essentially a in-house creative who was able to lead editors, developing these different skill sets to become a Swiss Army knife for people that I was working with. From there, I was actually able to be head of content for a relatively large creator as well. And it came a point where I couldn't keep working with just one individual or one organization organization. To get to where I wanted to be, I was gonna have to go out and start some kind of business of my own to be able to actually turn my creativity and my skill set for video into something bigger than working for one person. Now, there's pros and cons to this. Obviously, if you're in a great opportunity, it's worth staying for a little bit to learn and be around high-level people, for sure, 100% of the time. There's definitely a give and take to optimizing for money versus learning. And if you learn a lot, you can actually gain leverage and experience to be able to make more money, which is what fortunately I was able to do. I knew I didn't want to create a massive agency and have a bunch of employees and have 50 different clients to talk to every day and basically build out a whole operation. I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I essentially positioned myself as a creative studio. Now, what this means is that instead of having to sign a bunch of clients and instead of just working with one client, I was gonna work with a select few clients who I was able to leverage that stack of skills with to provide value at scale, meaning I was able to plug into existing content teams, level up their editors, contribute to packaging, ideation, scripting, all of these different things. And because of that, I was taking on more responsibility, not just for one person, but for multiple people at a time. I was able to make more money as a result. I was able to be ultra valuable to just a few people. And because of that, I'm able to charge more and I'm able to have relationships with people that I actually like and they value my expertise as a creative. Obviously, I've been in the game for a long time, but I do think that there's a way that other people could do the same thing for themselves. It just comes down to being real and assessing your skill sets, where you're deficient and where you want to get to, and then doing everything you can in your power to get to that level where you can actually do things more effectively. So this was a little bit of a rant, but if this was helpful at all and you want to learn how to do this for yourself, you can just DM me on Instagram and I'm happy to help out if you're a video editor or a video creator.